And I want to point out something that I noticed about his name, Trump,
Yeah. Yeah.
trumpet,
Mm.
and his father's Fred Trump, the middle name of Fred Trump, did you know is Christ?
No,
Donald Trump's father's middle name is Christ.
I'm not aware. Wow.
Yeah, I just looked it up again. I said to make sure I had that right. It's Fred Christ
Mm.
Trump Sr.
You
Yes.
see, this is a mind-blowing revelation to me. But however, I will also look it up more to be sure. We are speaking from the point of fact. I trust what you did, but that is me. Whenever I'm speaking of something, I speak empirically, what I've
Mhm,
seen and observed. That is
mhm,
the way I like to speak. So
mhm,
that's, I speak boldly without,
mhm,
fear or favor. But there's something I want to say, about this Trump's reign. This is
mhm.
the most important thing. If you go and look at the review, I wish I can pull it up now and read it if for you if you don't mind. Review on the book I wrote.
Oh,
That book is more eschatological than it is theological. That is sorry, than it is political rather.
mhm,
My focus, the main drive is the end time, is
mhm.
the coming of Jesus. Exactly. You see how the book there. The
Got it right
main
here.
exactly. The main drive is the coming of Jesus. Trump is a protagonist for the rapture.
Mhm,
Like I said, God doesn't use words carelessly in the Bible. Why was Trump used instead of trumpet? At the
mhm,
last trump, the trumpet will
mhm,
sound.
mhm,
We don't know for sure, but based on biblical timeline of the end time, we are in the last days, not as we normally hear or as Jesus said in the beginning. I am talking about literally
oh, yeah, we're
that,
literally there.
yeah, that America, or I mean the world, will not last beyond 2030 or 2033 the most. Why I say 2033? Because whatever calendar you believe, that was correct, because that one I don't know for sure whether it's the 30 AD or the 33 AD when
Mhm,
Jesus died and
mhm,
resurrected. So that would
mhm,
depend when the end of the 2 days of revival will be. Now, the earth is on a 7 day journey, and we are on the sixth day.
we're on the
Remember,
sixth day.
remember in Genesis, when God, in Genesis 2:17, if I'm not mistaken, when God warned, 2:17, when God told Adam, don't eat these fruits. The day you eat this, what did God say? You will surely, not you may die, not you will die, but you will surely, emphasis on you will surely die the day you eat this fruit. Did Adam die the day he ate that fruit? Absolutely. He surely died that day.
He
Now, the
did.
Bible tells us in uh, um, Psalm 90 and maybe 3 to 4, and also in Second Peter chapter 3, verse 8, it says, the day, 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord.
Mhm,
And God was speaking to Adam based, man was meant to live forever. And
mhm,
God's one day is 1,000 years.
mhm,
And he said, the day you eat this fruit, you will surely die. How long did Adam live? 930 years. He never lived to see a day. The
mhm,
longest living man, Methuselah, lived for 969 years, I believe.
mhm,
Yeah, 969 years. He
mhm.
never lived to see past one day.
That's right.
Nobody has ever lived past one day. So now, going by that, understand that the earth, if you want to understand more about God or things about revelation, is like God said, remember Jesus always said, in the beginning, it was not so.
Mhm,
What the point tells you that God says, my words are forever settled in heaven. I change not. When he declares a thing, it stands forever.
mhm,
People may change. We may derail along the way. God may come in revival to bring us back to course to what he has said in the beginning. But what God declares in the beginning doesn't change. So
right.
that is a key thing. If you want to understand the lifespan or where the journey of the earth and the coming of Jesus, go back to the beginning
Mhm,
and read it, and you will understand things that God is doing. Now, the
mhm,
earth is on a 7 day journey, and we are on the sixth day.
mhm,
And that sixth day will expire either 2030 or 2033, depending on which calendar is correct about the um about the death and resurrection of Christ, whether it was 30 AD or 33 AD. So that would
mhm,
depend where it will
mhm,
end. So let's say, for instance, but I lean more on the 2030 AD. I lean on the 30 AD rather, and I lean more on the 2030 end of the 6 day. Now, Jesus, we've been hearing about 2,000 years of revival of Christ, right? You know what that really is? 2 days of revival of Christ. It's 2 days. 2,000 years of time, 2,000 years of Christ, 2,000 years about which we end either in 2030 or 2033. And this is what Hosea chapter 6, 1-2 says. He said, God has turned, let us return to the Lord. That is revival. Let us return to the Lord. He said, he will revive us after 2 days. That is the 2,000 years of Christ revival. And on the third day, he will raise us up and we shall be with him forever.
Oh, wow.
The rapture. He will revive us for 2 days, for 2,000 years. And the 2,000 years of revival will end in 2030 or 2033, who is correct. But I lean more with 2030. He will revive us in 2 days. And on the third day, Hosea chapter 6, 1-2, read it, is there. And on the third day, he will raise us up and we shall be with him forever. And this is what God said. He said, what brings trouble to man is the days of men. And let's go to that one. He said, but after 6 days, on the 7th day, shall know. This is Job. Now I'm quoting. I think this should be Job. If I'm not mistaken, I think Job 5:19. I think it should be Job 5:19. He said, the days of man brings trouble to man. Job 14:1 tells you. He said, but God will deliver us from the from 6 troubles. Remember, what brings trouble to man? The days of man. God will deliver us from 6 troubles. Troubles of 6 days, troubles of 6,000 years. He said, and on the 7th shall no trouble come to man again ever. The Sabbath day. What is waiting? The millennial reign of Christ. The 1 day left. The 1,000
day. I was thinking that.
Exactly. So you see, all these things are embedded. They're already there. They're revealed there. The only thing that can make the rapture not to take place from now till 2030, or worst case scenario 2033, is if God in his prerogative, as we see also in the scripture, because the scripture is our USA, our ultimate source of authority. If it's not there, then there is no reference. That is not truth. So, but what I'm telling you is also part of truth, because when you go to the scripture, said, if you want to know what's going on, go back to the beginning. In the beginning, God told Abraham, this is what is written. This is revelation given to Abraham, prophecy, the Bible, the word that is there given to him. Your people, your children, will go into Egypt and we dwell there for 400 years. And I will bring them out from there. How long did they stay eventually? 430 years. God did not reveal the 30 years to Abraham. He said 400 years. Going by what God has revealed to us in the Bible, this earth will not go beyond 2030 or 2033 before the coming of Jesus. But God has the prerogative, just like he did in the beginning also, to give any number of years or whatever, as he does. But I worth it not. I don't lean on that. That is, very, the chance of that happening is very slim to me. But that could happen. God could decide to do that. But outside God doing that, going by what we have in the scriptures, there is no way the rapture will not take place from now to 2030 or 2033 the most. And I want to point you out to this. I had always known that Trump is a protagonist from 2016 of the rapture. I strongly believe that Trump was going to come in 2020. That's why God came to me and showed me that he deliberately. But then the only thing that didn't make sense to me is that when I look at the biblical timelines and look at the biblical revelation given to us, 2025, from that time, the second time, if Trump were to be the president from 2020 to 2025, doesn't fall into the end. How is this going to be? So that is where I was getting the whole thing messed up. So I was like confused, like, but why? But I still believed in it, but that wasn't adding up. But however, when God came now and showed me that he's deliberately suspending Trump's second term, God deliberately suspended, not because Trump couldn't win that election or Trump didn't win it, but he
really won.
God deliberately suspended it, said, because I have this whole thing planned out. So, and you can see it now, it perfectly fitting to the end of the 2 days. So it's something to really consider about.
And I want to bring up, when you say 2030, it makes me think about the UN, the global agenda is called Agenda 2030. There's a global agenda. The Democrats and those who vote Democrat always talking about Project 2025. Project 2025 is not a problem in my book. Agenda 2030
Is
this
the problem.
global agenda, this new world order. They strategically word things in such a way that you people don't even realize that we're
Yeah.
headed, according to this Agenda 2030, towards a global economy, a one world economy,
One world government.
religion, and government.
Mhm.
That is like setting it up for the Antichrist.
Yes,
Okay.
I always tell people I don't worry about what will happen after the rapture. I'm worried
Mhm.
about what will happen from now before the rapture because I'm going in the rapture.
Exactly.
My focus is not to miss that flight. That's my focus.
Exactly. I don't want to
So
miss the flight.
it's for those who will be left here that will deal with whatever is going to, whatever agenda they have then. So that agenda doesn't affect my life whenever it's going to be, whether God is going to push it forward down the road or it's going to still happen at the time they're planning. So whatever they're planning after the rapture, it's not going to affect me except I choose for it to affect me. I am working hard to keep my garment spotless, to stay in perfect holiness, to ensure that at any time the rapture sound, the trumpet sounds, I'll be going up with Christ. And
So, do you believe that the rapture will happen first and then the great tribulation?
absolutely.
Okay.
Now I always hear this rant about
I think differently on that. I got to
exactly.
tell you.
Let me explain. I always hear it. Like I said, I like to deal with matters empirically, not just theoretically. Let's come in. Now let me ask you, if there is war in Haiti, close
Mhm,
by here, serious war, and there are American citizens there, does American government go to rescue them after the war or before the war?
mhm,
They will go before the war as they have information about the war to
mhm,
rescue their own so that they don't get destroyed in the war. That is what every
mhm,
sensible nation does.
mhm,
Now, let's look at the Bible and see if we see the same pattern with God. If human beings can be reasonable like that to know that's the best time to rescue your own, is it God that will be dumb to rescue his own after they are destroyed in the tribulation? Now, there's tribulation going on already, but not the
mhm.
great tribulation.
Right.
All right. So now let's look at it from the biblical standpoint. When God was about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, did he come to rescue Lot and his family after he has destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah or before then? He
Mhm,
came before then.
mhm,
When God wanted to rescue his people from the land, Noah and the rest from
mhm,
the land,
mhm,
he came before the destruction.
mhm,
When God wanted to rescue the harlots, Rahab, from Ai, he
mhm,
came before the destruction because he is already aware of what's going to happen. He came to rescue them before the destruction took place. So
mhm,
that is always the pattern of God or any what I call it superpower nation. Go and rescue your people when you hear evil is about to happen.
mhm,
Evil, the reign, the 7 years of great tribulation is the reign of Antichrist.
mhm.
It will be unholy.
Oh,
It
wow.
will be contrary to the nature of God, for
Mhm,
God to leave his people to
mhm.
be under the tyranny, the destruction of Satan,
Do
and
you
abandon them there.
but what, let me just ask you this. I thought about, when the plagues in Egypt during in the book of Exodus, when God sent all those plagues, when he sent darkness throughout Egypt, he said there was light in Goshen.
Mhm.
I guess the way I was thinking of it, and at any event, we just got to be ready whenever it comes, whether it come before or at
Or
whatever,
after.
just
And I
be
want to
ready.
agree with you on that. But if you also see
Hmm.
that it falls in line with the nature of Satan
Hmm.
doing the very opposite.
Hmm.
If you look at the scripture, you cannot find any true biblical reference you can really argue
Hmm.
about the coming of Christ to the rapture to be in the tribulation.
Right.
It's every right interpretation for it because you have to look at in the full context of the scriptures,
Hmm.
the biblical context, which
Hmm.
is the spirit of the scripture. You
Hmm.
can't find anything that contradicts this
Hmm.
from Genesis to Revelation. But
Hmm.
if you go the other way, you will see a lot of contradiction. You
Hmm.
only have to pick and choose
Hmm.
to support
Okay.
your position. But however, if what's the name the rapture
Hmm.
were to take place after the I've lost my train of thought, but the point is this: that will be not God,
Hmm.
because God must rescue His own, and
Hmm.
then come back in the tribulation to, I mean, in the after the tribulation for the full reign, which is the last day of his
Mhm.
reign. And then that's when he will come for the sake of the Jews who have
Right.
rejected their Messiah, as revealed in Daniel's. But however, one thing about, yes, now I've come to the main thing I want to talk about before. The thing about the pre-tribulation is that it keeps people not to be ready.
Mhm.
So you have this understanding that when you start noticing the great tribulation, when it start happening, then that's when you really know that Christ will come and come again. Then you will miss the flight. And that's
Mhm.
what that thing is meant to do, for the most part. The point is this, that God said we should be ready, like you said, at all time, because we don't know
Mhm.
when the trumpet will sound.
Mhm.
And the what pre-tribulation, not the post-tribulation, right? The pre-tribulation rapture causes you to be ready at all time because you know it can happen tonight.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
the post-tribulation, for the most part, tell people that the end has not come yet. When I see Antichrist, then I will know, yes, Christ, I will now be preached. So people take their Christian life, not too seriously as they ought to take it. So that is what one negative thing that post-tribulation, accomplishes in most Christians.